Eros Meets Agape is a bi-weekly heart-to-heart conversation about love, sex, marriage, and relationships. Everyone wants to love and be loved, but everyone does not know how to give and receive the love they both want and need. Intimacy and passion are essential, yet mean nothing if there isn't unconditional and sacrificial love, which is the foundation for any lasting relationship. Dr. Saudia is a licensed marriage and family therapist and minister. Let's listen in as she shares how to create healthier and happier relationships.
Hey there, family. Happy 2022. For all of you all that are listening when this episode drops on January the 6th of 2022, I wish you a very happy new year. And for all those that are listening thereafter, I still wish you a very happy new year, regardless of what month or year you may be listening. I want everyone to always have a prosperous and happy new year. But I have some exciting things to share with you. This is the start of the 5th season of this podcast, and I am so excited to have reached this milestone that I have so many wonderful things to share with you today, as well as this season. I just can't contain myself. So without any further ado, let's head on over into the classroom. I have so much to share with you. I will see you in a second. All right, folks. So like I said, Happy New Year. I mean, let's just face it. 2021 was not what we had expected, right? We thought we were going to let us free that year, and we were partially free. But we are excited that new things are on the horizon for 2022. So we're going to believe that all good things are happening for us in 2022. So that means I want you all to get your heads together, start thinking about what you want this new year to look like, and it's time to begin heading down that path. Now, why am I saying that? I think we should all boss up in 2022. Why this year? Because that's the year we're on right now. And here's why I'm saying that. It's twofold. This is the 5th season of this podcast. And you all know I share this story pretty often. No, I won't say pretty often, probably maybe once or twice this season. You know how this podcast started. Me, Dr. Saudia. I have a private practice in Southfield, Michigan, here in the United States. And one year I was doing some thinking and figured, you know what, there is something else and more that I can do outside of the therapy room to really help people to better their lives emotionally as well as relationally. I believe everyone has the path to having the best relational success possible. We just aren't always aware of how to get on that path or do well when we actually start out on that path. Sometimes we just need a little jump start. We need someone to give us a pointer here and there. And I believe that's where I came in. I believe that I help people with some regard to different mental and emotional issues that come about and really helping you to see a little bit different, clearer, and a different perspective. We all see differently. But when you add a therapist's view to things, we're able to give you a little different perspective. I like to say that if we're looking at various security cameras, they always show different angles to the same scene. But the different angle allows me to be able to see something different in that point of view that may be missing in another screen. And that's what I believe therapists help us to do, not only to really overcome issues. A lot of people think that we solve problems, that we fix things, we're fixers. That's not really our job. It's not our job to come in to fix someone because we didn't create you. But our job is to help you to see your vision. And once we learn that from you, then we help you to get on that path. And we just kind of get you steering on that path or get you back on the path if you kind of lost your way. So that's why the podcast was started. It's just a little bit extra help in order to help many people out there with regard to various aspects of relational success as well as emotional success. I believe that we are all emotional. We just deal with emotions differently. Whether that means someone is identified as being under emotional because they don't speak a lot about their emotions, or someone who may be identified as being over emotional because they talk a lot about their feelings. There is always a way to find a happy medium in your life. And I just think I bring that perspective in order to help people to see that. So what does that have to do with 2022? Remember, I said it's all about bossing up in 2022. And how did I get there, right? Because this is the first episode of the 5th season, but I'm also kind of sad to report that it's the last season of the Eros Meets Agape podcast. So in essence, this episode is the first of the last. So this year, for this 5th season, I'm going to be with you for the last 26 episodes of this podcast. And it doesn't mean that you won't get to hear from me anymore. No, not at all. That is not true. Let's just say I'm moving to different platforms. So here I speak to you all and you all get to gain a different perspective on different topics. But I'm going to head on over to Clubhouse. Now, I'll be honest. I've been broadcasting about Clubhouse for the latter part of 2021. And if I'm being completely forthright with you all and transparent, I struggled to really make it onto Clubhouse just because of my busy schedule. And if I'm being even more transparent, I'm not the most open person in the world. So me creating a group on Clubhouse and initially not really having anyone there, it was a little bit off-putting to me, only because I'm really only there in order to be of service, because here I get to pour into your lives. I get to drive with you to work or on your errands or maybe start your day or end your day with you. But it's one-sided. And remember, I said I started this because I wanted to help people. Well, now I've noticed with the change of how life has happened within the last two years, right, that people need more than just me pouring into them. I really need to hear from them to see exactly what's going on. Where would they need some additional help? So that's why I decided to head on over to Clubhouse. And I'm going to be on Clubhouse every Sunday, unless you hear otherwise. I will be there every Sunday on Clubhouse, Eastern Standard Time at 7:30 p.m. And it's the room called No Dessert Before Dinner. I've introduced that, should I say, topic to you all. And I'm just going to just tweak it a bit. That's the name of the room, No Dessert Before Dinner. But I'm actually just going to have different topics that we're going to talk about, because I want people to be able to come into the room, talk about whatever that topic is for that week, and for you to really have an opportunity to really kind of get support from the sistership in that particular room that night. As well, you'll be able to get some coaching advice from me. When I say coaching advice, it's not therapy, right? Because therapy is of a different nature, right? There's confidentiality, client privacy, things of that nature. But with coaching, I'm able to give you professional advice and expertise that may be of some assistance to you while you're trying to navigate your way through a situation, conflict, or something that's happening in your relationship that you may need a different perspective. And remember, I said you have to look at life in our different variances and experiences in life like you are looking at a security camera with various lenses. So think of our group on Clubhouse as if all the different people that come into the room, they're presenting their lens on that particular issue. And sometimes when we hear a perspective outside of our own head, it helps us to see a little differently. Sometimes it helps us to see clearer. Sometimes it helps us to be a little bit more understanding of ourselves or someone else. Sometimes it helps us to be able to apply a little bit more forgiveness or grace towards ourselves or another person. But in the same sense, I want it to also be a group that allows us to really grow together. You know, life is all about evolution and growth, right? If you are where you were last year, we're not growing, right? We're always supposed to be growing. And growing pains is not always easy. So that's another great thing I love about having a group. You know, as a counselor, one of the things that we do, we run groups. We don't always see people individually or just with their partner or their children. Sometimes we see people with like-minded situations and we see them in a group aspect. And that's how I am approaching our group on Clubhouse. I look at it as a support group to really assist people in navigating some of the challenges and conflicts and issues that they encounter in life and in love. You know me, my area is emotions and relationships. So whether you're married, single, complicated, dating, whatever it may be, join us on Clubhouse Sundays, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we'll have a different topic each week. And for those that are up to it, then if you want to share what's happening in order to pick our brain or what have you for your particular situation, I'm more than happy to share my point of view. And of course, the group will also be happy to be able to give you their insight, their love and support. Now, you all know me. I love me some Jesus. So it is a Christian foundation. So I'm just going to tell you in advance, I'm not going to particularly throughout the entire time quote book, chapter, and verse of scripture, but you will hear some Jesus talk from me because that's how I roll. If you like it, great. Love to have you there. If you don't, well, then everybody has their own different point of view, and I'll be praying for you because I want everybody to come to know the love of Jesus and to really just have a wonderful relationship with him. I believe it just adds so much more to our lives. So with that being said, guys, this is the first of the last when it comes to the Eros Meets Agape podcast. And I have so enjoyed you all over the last 5 years. We have grown, and I'm not trying to spend this entire episode talking about logistics and things like that, but I get to pour into so many people each month through this podcast. And right now it's about, maybe to my knowledge, about 300 or so, maybe somewhere between 300 and 330 people that really listen to these episodes. And I like to say, I think it's 300 to 330 because those are the people that actually download the episode, but we already know no one really downloads episodes anymore. What do? We stream them because once I'm done, I don't need to have it in my iPad or my Kindle or my phone anymore, right? I've listened to it. So that means maybe I might have more listeners. Maybe I have about 500, but that's me pouring into you all. And I want you all to take all of the growth that you have and use it as a support system because we are stronger together. We are so much stronger when we are amongst one another, and no one is alone. We are together in this love thing. We want everyone, or I want everyone, to be happy with love. Will you have exciting moments every single day of life? No, you won't. You will have pockets of those. But in the meantime, while you're waiting on your next pocket of explosion of great things to happen, I still want you to be happy and navigating your relationship to the best of your ability and growing all the way through it. So I hope you have an opportunity to join me. But until then, I want to talk to you all about going through 2022, really bossing up in your love life. Now, here's where we are. All right. This particular year, it's a big year, right? It's the beginning of season 5 of this podcast. But in the same sense, that's a milestone. Just think about TV. When TV shows get to the 5th season, right? That's something big. That's when they go into syndication. So they made it, big time. Whereas here in podcast world, there's so many podcasts out there that people could listen to, right? But yet to make it to season 5, to really keep hanging in there and growing, an audience of people who are really enjoying the content, that says a lot. So I want to say thank you to that. But I also want to do more. Whenever I do something, I want to do it right. And if it goes well, then I want it to get even better. If it's not going well, then I need to improve in order to make it better. So now that we've gotten to this place, it's the last season. But again, we're hopping over to Clubhouse. So we're not saying goodbye. We're just, again, changing our address from this platform, from the podcast to Clubhouse. But here's the thing. I meet you all every 2 weeks here through the podcast, and I'll be able to meet you every week on Clubhouse. Here, I could be anywhere from half an hour to an hour, whereas we're just going to let time lead us on Sundays at 7:30 when we head on over to Clubhouse. And that's going to actually begin this upcoming Sunday, guys. So what does that mean? That means if you're available, Sunday, January the 9th, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, I would love to have you over because that's going to be our very first time that we're going to officially meet. But here's the thing. This is also, and I believe this is why I wanted to start this year off with bossing up in your love life for 2022. This year marks another milestone, which is my 50th birthday, right? And I always said, wow, me being 50, never, don't get me wrong, I never thought I would, leave this life at an early age. I always imagined me having a long life that was happy and prosperous. but never really thinking, what does my life look like at 50? Never thought I would be doing a podcast. Never would have thought I would be reaching out to people, sending them texts of love and encouragement and support. Never thought I would have written a book, have my own private practice. That's not really what I saw for my life. But again, Jesus sees things differently. And when we decide to go with his plan, it really is the best plan for us. But if I'm being really honest and transparent, I'm going to tell you all the truth. At 50, I never thought my life would look like this. And this is what I say. I imagine me being some average suburban housewife doing an average everyday job that is necessary in this life and coming home to my husband and kids, right? But that is not my life. And if I'm being completely transparent, I always looked at it like, well, wait a minute. If you're 50, then why do you not have that side of your life together? Here is part of why I'm thinking this way. This is just for me. I'm not saying this is for anyone else. This is just me. When you're a person, you ever heard that term, those who can do, those who can't teach? Well, I saw that for the first time in a movie. I can't think of the name of the movie, but it was something with Jennifer Lopez and it was something about love, and eventually she got married or what have you. But my point is to say, at the age of 50, I always thought, I would be seeing my kid at college, coming home on the weekends, and my husband and I, doing fun things with maybe the twins that were still at the house, or, us traveling because we were empty nesters, whatever that looked like, right? But that's not the life that I have, even though it is the life that I desire. And when I look back as to, why have I not made that a part of my life? Well, for me, I believe it was because not that I was looking for perfection, but really because I wanted God's best for me. And I've told you all this before. I've had people that actually wanted to marry me, but for various reasons, I didn't think that was the best choice, for either the reason that I didn't share those same feelings for them, or I didn't believe didn't match, or they were right for me, or even truly loved me. And I believe if you really want a relationship to work, then you have to have love as their foundation. And then from there, you're going to need commitment. Love keeps you going when you are struggling to like each other. It's important to love each other, because even in the moments where I may not like you, because I love you, I will still want the best for you, and I will still try to work towards the best for us. But when we don't like someone, we want to get away from them as quickly as we possibly can, right? So because that had not, should I say, me in my life, I didn't want to settle, right? And how many of us who are single have heard from people, oh, well, you're too picky. And in some ways, I see what they're saying, that maybe we are sabotaging our own lives. But in some cases, it's a little bit insensitive. And here's the reason why. I believe that people eventually get to a place where they recognize that they really need and want love, and they do what it takes in order to have it. Now, with that being the case, if you got what you wanted, however quick or however long it took you to get it, what's wrong with someone who's a little picky? It means that they're just taking a little bit of extra precaution and time in order to really get what it is that they want. And you shouldn't really pick on them because of that. It doesn't mean that necessarily something is wrong with them. It could just mean everything is right, but they haven't met Mr. or Miss Right. Maybe they want Mr. or Miss Right as opposed to Mr. or Miss Right now. And that's okay. So for me, when I'm looking at my life in 50, and this is not what I imagined, I thought about it because I know a number of different groups of women, right? I know some women who are my age who are single, and we are living our best lives as we are being single, but still wanting and desiring a mate. So we're doing everything that we know to do in order to make ourselves ready when that time comes along, while still making certain that we aren't putting our life on hold until that time comes along. Then you have those that are in their 30s and 40s, and maybe they're experiencing a tumultuous time in their relationship, and they just need a little bit of support and love. but maybe because they've been hurt and they don't want to be vulnerable, it's difficult and challenging to really tell someone that, you're with, whether in a long-term relationship or in a marriage, how they've hurt you, because you might fear that the relationship is over. Or maybe someone who's in their 20s just starting out with love, or maybe in their early 30s and just starting out in that relationship or that marriage and not really knowing how to navigate that. Regardless of where you are on this age spectrum, whether you're in your 20s, whether you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it may be, it's time that we really, male or female, boss up on our love lives. That means we can't put things on hold anymore. If we've learned anything within the last 2 years, we've really learned that we can't put life on hold because it's not going to wait for us, right? It's like that job. Something happens to you, guess what? They're going to mourn your loss, but they are going to notify HR to put up an announcement because they need to hire someone to fill your spot. That's how life is. If you're not going to show up, life is going to put someone else in your spot. Now, I do believe everything that is for you is for you, and it will wait on you. So then what does that mean? Because it sounds like you're contradicting yourself, Sadia, Dr. Sadia. No, look at it this way. Life will wait for you in the aspect that what is for you is for you. It means it will open itself up when you arrive, right? But if someone else needed to be there, they'll be filling the spot until you get there, okay? So let me give you an example. I worked at this place that I was interning during my doctoral program, and they offered me a full-time job. And the job was pretty good. In the back of my mind, I thought to myself, I could earn a bunch of money right now doing this job that I know I really don't want to do. But I could earn a lot of money during this last portion of my program. But is it really going to bring me joy? And I knew that the answer was no. I knew that was not where I wanted to be, nor where I really believed God had for me. But I also believe that if I chose that decision, God would make it work for me. So when I thought about the job in greater detail, I looked at it from this angle. If I stay and keep this job, I'm really warming it up for the next person, because when I leave, they're going to slip right into this spot, and then I'm going to go into the spot where I'm supposed to be. So in essence, life has not waited for me because it kept moving. And when I would leave that spot, the next person would come back in. Therefore, life is not waiting for me. But in the same sense, what is for me is still for me because it is still waiting for me to arrive. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say technically life won't wait on you, but what is for you is for you. Because if you do what you're supposed to do and you're doing it from the right place and the right heart, then God's going to make certain that everything lines up. Now, I'm going to be honest. We don't always like the timing of it, right? We may not, or at least if I'm just being honest with you, I don't really like the fact that I have yet to marry and have kids, because it's really something that I wanted to have, right? Something that I really wanted to do, not just be have a child, but I wanted to be a mom. There's a difference, okay? When you want something, it's generally about our wants and our own desires. But when you want to be something for someone else, then that means you are signing up for this other stuff that comes along. So when I say I want a child, yeah, it would probably be fun and cute being pregnant, giving birth, an experience, or, having a baby, staying up, feeding, all of that has its ups and downs, challenging, but also rewarding. But that's what I would want to do, right? It's all about me in that moment. But if I want to be a mom, then I'm saying I want to give up and sacrifice things for another person. I want to deposit into another person. I want to teach another person. And even though there are challenges that come along with that, if I'm desiring to be a mom, then I'm signing up, willingly and knowingly signing up for those things, right? So why am I saying that? Because when we have a desire for something, but it doesn't pan out the way that we have wanted it to, then what do? Do we give up, or do we boss up in our life? So for me in this instance, do I give up in being a wife or a mom, or do I boss up in being a wife or a mom? Maybe it doesn't look like the average route that most people take. And that's okay, because maybe that wasn't my route to begin with, right? I never would have thought my route to becoming a therapist and earning a doctorate degree would have landed me living in Virginia, but it did. I never would have thought I would have got a scholarship, but I did. I never would have thought I would have been offered a job at my internship site, but I did. Okay, so what does that mean? We don't always get the route that we want, but if we hang in there, then we get the results that we want. So what am I telling you on bossing up in your love life? For everybody who's out there who is really desiring to have a love life, girlfriend, it is time for you to get out the house. I know COVID is going on. We don't know how long this thing is going to do what it's going to do. So be safe, but you can't wait on life anymore. Of course, always be led by the Lord, okay? Be led by the Holy Spirit. You don't want to get out there and endanger yourself, right? But it's not always going to wait on you. You have to actually do your part. And where we in, then that's where God will take over. So if you're wanting a love life and you don't have one, it's time to start doing something different. You might not like online dating, but if that's where you need to start in order to open up your pool of potentials, in order to start screening some possibilities and then meet them in person, well, then you're going to have to do that. Because if you wait for life to open up, it may be this summer, it may be months from now, maybe next year, right? If you're waiting for the perfect opportunity to go back to school or to get that promotion, you might not have it. You might have to say your piece now. You have to boss up, guys, in your life. But I'm here to help you to boss up in your love life. So what does that exactly look like, and what does that exactly mean? Point number one, do things differently. The last thing I pretty much just told you. You're going to have to switch it up. Again, if you're accustomed to being in the house, you're going to have to go out. If you're accustomed to going to the same spots over and over again, try something different. One of my friends, she was saying, prior to her meeting her significant other, she decided to do something different. So she would normally come home from work, and that would be her evening. She said, okay, I'm going to switch things up. And she started going to a restaurant and sitting at the bar and ordering herself dinner. Did she meet her husband there, her current significant other? No, she didn't. But it got her out of her normal routine to the place, whereas then she had a friend to join her, and they would meet at a hotel restaurant, and they would go to the bar there. And then they met people from there, right? Did she still meet her significant other? No, she didn't. But then from there, because she was starting to get accustomed and acclimated to doing things differently, she ended up joining a group, something she said she never would have done before. But because she was getting out of her shell, getting out of her house and doing things differently, she was now in a position to be open to start attending this particular group. And as a result of that particular group, that's where she met her significant other. Did changing things up, doing things differently, lead her to her significant other? It most certainly did, because she started doing stuff differently. She started going out instead of being at home all the time. You don't have to be at the club. You don't have to be at the bar. You just have to do something differently, whatever that is for you. So again, if you're accustomed to staying in the house, do something differently. Start hanging out with a friend. Join a group. I can't tell you how many times people I know will tell me how they've met people through Meetup. And it's because they are doing something that is interesting and fun for them, and they meet someone who's like-minded in that same thing. And as a result, they hit it off. Why? Because they're already starting off with something of mutual interest and compatibility. And then from there, something can just grow. So what is my point? Point number one, in bossing up in your love life, do something differently. That's all you have to do. Switch it up. If you're accustomed to meeting people in person, again, try online. You might even want to slide into somebody's DMs. Now, I'm not saying it's for everyone. I'm not even saying it's for every generation. But for some generations, that's just customary, right? They don't give out, Gen Xers do not give out their phone numbers. No, they'll say, what's your social? And instantly right there, they'll pull out their phone with their phone number in it. Bypass that part of the phone, head straight on over to Instagram, Snapchat, maybe even Twitter, whatever. They'll head on over there and say, what's your social? What's your handle? And look them up, tag them, or, friend request them. And then from there, they'll have conversations through DMs until the place where someone says, hey, let's meet up. Okay. What is my point here? Or they'll start out and just automatically start out in the DMs because they've watched them or followed them on social media. People even get married that way. But the point is you got to do something differently, because if you're single and you want a relationship, but you're not meeting anyone, then you got to do something different. Now, if you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship where you're married, and maybe you've gotten to a place where, for lack of better phrasing, things are a little bit stale or dry, guess what? Everything that you did in the beginning in order to get that person, in order to connect with that person, those things have to continuously be done. Now, I'm not saying you have to do the exact same thing the exact same way that you did in the beginning, but you still have to do those things, because those things helped you to connect with one another. Those things you did together that allowed you to get to know one another. And then from there, you liked one another. You wanted to talk more with one another. And then from there, you fell in love with one another. But it all started because you were doing something new and different with someone and getting to know them in the process. And when you got to know them, you liked it. So you have to still communicate if you're married. You don't just communicate about the kids, the house, the mortgage, the job, so-and-so's life. No, you have to share with them your head and your heart, what's on your mind and what you're feeling. And when you have these conversations, will they always agree or like what you're saying? No, but they should respect it and they should listen to you. That's what keeps you close. So you have to do things differently. If you don't want to do it the exact same way when you first got together, no problem. Switch it up a bit. Just make it a little bit different. Keep it a little spicy, and you'll still have a great time as long as you're staying connected with that individual. All right. So that's point number one. Do things differently. If it's not working, do something differently. All right. Point number two, you've got to open up, people. Okay. What do I mean by opening up? Here's what I'm trying to say. Opening up is really, again, sharing your head and your heart. Couples that last are couples that stay connected mentally and emotionally. If I know what's happening in your world because you share your day-to-day experiences with me and you share them with detail, then I have a connection with you. And this connection allows me to be close with you. So just think of it this way. Your best friend. How did you all become best friends? It's because you all started talking, you found similarities, and you started sharing more and doing more. How did you fall in love? Same way. You were sharing, you were opening up. You felt like that person got you, that they understood you. They validated you. When you open up, you are actually sharing the most intimate part of yourself. Sure, people talk about sex all day long, right? It's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's important in your marital relationship, but it isn't the entire relationship. It's that mind-blowing conversation. It's the ability to connect with you emotionally. And the only way that happens is when you open up. So you should be sharing your dreams, your desires, your wants, and your needs with your partner. If you want it to last, that is. You got to open it up. And the more you open up, the more you make it feel comfortable for another person to open up, because you'll be learning not to judge, not to criticize, not to talk about, ridicule, but really just to listen, right? We don't have to want to do what the other person is doing in order to stay connected with them. But if I'm connected with you, I should have some type of interest to be able to share that with you, meet you halfway. I have a group on Facebook, and one of the questions I asked in the group one day was, how long will a relationship last if one partner does not support the dreams and goals of the other person? Do you know what everybody said? Every single person. They said it differently, phrased it differently, of course, but the answers were still the same. Not long. The relationship will not last if one person does not support the other person. When we look at a relationship and the success of a relationship, there are 3 different types of connection, such as intimacy, that takes place. And it's really identified as different types of leisure, but they're essential to a relationship, okay? Now, they aren't necessarily like as in you move from one level to the next, never to go to the previous level again. It's like a cycle, a circle. You may repeat a couple of levels at different times before you go to the next level and then come back and circle back to that first level. That's what it's more so like, okay? Because you need all 3 of these elements in order to have a successful and happy relationship. Level 1 of leisure is joint leisure. Joint leisure is we go to the movies together or we're watching a TV show together, right? We're not actually doing something together because our attention and our focus is placed on the object of interest, right? So if it's the circus, if it's the movie, if it's a play, we're watching someone else perform, but we're sharing in that experience together, so that maybe later we talk about it. So I remember when I first started dating, I literally hated for a person to ask me out and to say, let's go to a dinner and a movie. Now, I wasn't even thinking about being a therapist then, but I must have been on to something because, and I'm not the only person that has felt like this, because I thought about it and I was like, why do I want to go to a movie? Because I'm trying to get to know you. And I really valued my time. Okay. I've told you all this before. My father passed, and whenever someone important in my life passes away, I always like to take one life lesson that I begin owning to a greater level. And I do it in honor of that person, but it also betters me. And for me, it was about time, quality time. All right. I missed having quality time with my dad, and I made a promise moving forward, I would not waste time because that's something that I can't get back. So whenever a guy would ask me out on a date, I mean, I would go if he asked me to a dinner and a movie, because I'm like, okay, well, if we go to dinner, I always like to go to dinner after the movie, because that way if we didn't have a lot to talk about, well, then guess what? I could use the movie as conversation and hoping something could build from there. But I didn't like the movie because I'm not getting to know you during that, 90 minutes or that, 2 hours. We're just sharing in something together. But when you're in a relationship, that's important to have those moments because they're chill, right? It allows each person to relax and just zone out or what have you. Still there, even though we're doing things separately, but together. The second form of leisure, we call it a joint experience of support. All right. So what does that mean? If I'm supporting you, then that means one person is doing something where the other person shows up to support that person. So I've given this example before. Every Black female will know what I'm talking about on this example here. I think it'll make some of you understand as well as chuckle. If you are a Black female in America, at some place and point during your teenage years, your man wanted you to come to his basketball, football, baseball, hockey, whatever sport he played. He wanted you to be in the stands watching him. Why? Because one, he's proud of you and he wants to show you off, but he also wants you there so you can really see how he rolls in his sport, how well he does, but also because he wants your support. It means something to him. And when one person goes to support another person, do you know, not only does it make them see that you care about them and you want them to do their best, it gives them that added boost of energy that takes them to another level that day. Think about it this way. How many kids that when their parent shows up to their game they do exceptionally well that night or that day, because that parent is there rooting them on and cheering for them, and they hear their parents' voice in the background. You know, you can do it. Good job. You know, all those things, right? It makes them feel good. That's validation, people. So when we support our spouse or our partner, we are validating them, and we all feed off of validation. We all need it. There's nothing wrong with it. You might as well begin to get accustomed to it, because validation is like air. All right. It's something that you need in a relationship, that you have to get to a place where you are comfortable giving as well as receiving validation. And when you are supporting your partner, you validate them. You validate their existence. You validate their ability to do this thing. You are showing them that you have faith in them and that you believe that they can do anything. So for every Black female, including myself, I have been to basketball games and football games to support my man. And that always made them feel good. There's never a game that I left that particular day or night. And whether they lost or won, my dude was happy that I was there, excited, because afterwards it was, hey, meet my girl, right? Because they're proud of you. Vice versa. Woman wants to be able to show off her man coming to support her as well, okay? So you have to get to a place where you are allowing support to also be in this type of level of leisure, which is also relationship bonding within your relationship. Now, the third thing, remember, we're talking about types of leisure. These things are necessary in a relationship. The third thing, which is very important. Now, here, I want you to hear me. Number one was joint leisure, right? We're watching TV together. It's important you will have more of those than you have of these other two. All right. Now, this third thing, this is very essential. You don't have this all of the time, but it is essential in your relationship. And that is sharing in relationship experiences. What does that mean? That means if we actually, I don't know, if we garden together, if we go on hikes together, or we take a cooking class together, when you do something with your partner and you do it together, even if one of you has experienced it before, but you have not experienced it together, then you are creating a relationship experience, because it is something that the relationship has never had before. Therefore, it is a new experience. And even if you have done this with someone else, you haven't done it with this person. And because this person is sharing in this experience with you this time, it's going to be different in some way, shape, or form, right? Go back to those security cameras. Remember the different angles. It's going to give a different vibe, different look, different sound, because you have someone different there. Now, every relationship, the only way that the relationship continues to grow and build is through sharing your head and your heart. And we generally tend to do that when we are being enveloped in new relationship experiences, okay? So of those three things that are important and essential as far as building intimacy and leisure time together in a relationship is one, that joint leisure. Then we have support, where I'm there for this other person. And then the third thing is sharing in these new relationship experiences. All three are important. You should have all three rotate in your relationship at any given time, but you are going to have more leisure moments of joint time together, like watching TV, eating together. You're going to have more of those than you do level 2 and level 3. I shouldn't always have to be at some type of thing in order to support my partner. I should definitely be there, but those don't come up a lot in a relationship. In the same sense, new experiences. We aren't always doing something new with our partner every single day. When you're first dating, you're going out with them once a week. So the most you're getting is maybe twice a week if things are getting spicier, right? That's at least 5 more days. So what is those 5 days consisting of? Joint time together, where you might be watching TV, eating dinner, watching a movie, talking on the phone. Those are things, okay? So you definitely want to have all of those in play. But what does all of that require? Or it should require you opening up. If I am doing something joint-wise with you, with watching TV, eating dinner, going to a movie, hiking, cooking, whatever that is, I should be talking to you about our worlds during this time. If I'm supporting you through something, then guess what? In the beginning, before it starts, I'm asking you, how can I be there for you? What's going on? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking and feeling? Afterwards, tell me how you thought the night or the day went. Tell me all about it, right? You should be sharing in communication. And of course, this should be taking place in that third level, which is that new relationship experience, because that solidifies the relationship bond. But it only happens, guys, if you're opening up. If you're quiet, you're not going to get there. So start opening up in 2022, right? Okay, we're bossing up. Now, the third and final thing is growing emotionally. Y'all knew I was going ahead in this direction, and yes, I'm here. We've got to grow emotionally. Now, what does that particularly mean? Let me explain it. All right, here's my point. If we are growing emotionally, there are things that we are no longer putting up with, and there are things that we are requiring. That means if you are accustomed to dating people that really aren't there for you, boss up in 2022. No, you're not having that. If there are things that you are putting up with that you don't want, no, you're not doing that anymore. Because this is why you want the best love experience you can possibly have. No one wants to go through love 50,000 times. I mean, it's not that it isn't exciting in the beginning, but it's not fun when it hurts. So everybody wants their last first kiss, right? What does that mean? That means the last time I kiss a new pair of lips, right? It's because this relationship, it's not because I'm done or you're done. It's because this relationship is the relationship that's for me. But if I'm growing emotionally and I'm not sharing what I'm really thinking and feeling, then I'm not growing and giving myself the opportunity to have my best love life. If someone isn't for you, it's okay to tell them that. That means you've grown emotionally. Things that you would have put up with before, you don't have to. There's nothing wrong with actually speaking up for yourself. So here's an example. My friends used to get on me a lot about speaking my mind. Now, I'm not rude, although I used to be a little bit tense, but not rude, just truthful with no tact, if I'm being completely honest. And I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. But as I got older, remember I said people will start putting things on you because they're thinking you're the problem. Well, I would start talking to some people, even entertaining others that I didn't initially think we could go anywhere, but I looked at it and said, you know what, let me give it a shot. But in my heart of hearts, I knew that wasn't true. Now, the entire time I'm honest with this individual, right? They're telling me how they're thinking and how they're feeling. And I felt like I'm never going to lead someone on because I don't want someone to do that to me. So I was always honest and saying, this is where I am. I'm trying to get this to this place where this can develop into something, but I need to be honest with you right now. Okay. People didn't like me being honest in that way, but I didn't want to have a fake love life. I didn't want to have a fake man. I wanted to be just as happy as everybody else. I mean, there are different people out here, of course, but I didn't think it was necessary for me to have a man just to say I had a man. I want a man and I want to be happy in that relationship. That meant I had to grow emotionally. That meant that I had to have those hard conversations. Difficult conversations doesn't mean that there's always a problem. Sometimes it just means that we have to have these hard conversations so that we can both grow. But if I never did that, the people that in a way that I released, they wouldn't be living their best life with who they're with now because they would have been living a lie with me. But I had to grow emotionally to a place where I could tell someone where I was compared to where they were and be honest about that. So if you're not opening up and being honest, you don't have to be brutal, but you have to be honest with the other person. But most importantly, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be truthful. You cannot have the best love life experience lying to yourself or to someone else. You don't have to measure up to someone. Someone is going to love you in all of your imperfection. And guess what? they're still going to think the world of you. Someone is going to love you even though you might not know about this or that or know how to do this or that. But guess what? They're going to love you anyway. But it's better to be a truthful you than to be an untruthful lie about yourself. Because what's going to happen when it's time for you to just totally relax and be yourself? If you've been presenting someone else, they may not like that version because you've introduced them to someone else. So when we grow emotionally, that means we have to have hard conversations. That means if I am not accustomed to opening up emotionally, if I really want to have a really good love life, I'm going to have to start opening up emotionally. If I'm going to have a better love life and I may be a little bit too expressive in my emotion, notice I did not say over emotional because I particularly do not believe in that. Again, it's a different lens. It just means this person is comfortable with expressing their emotion. But we have to temper that when we're with someone who is not. And the last thing, growing emotionally means, guess what, guys? We're going to have to be emotionally available. We're going to have to switch up how we're doing things. If I am not accustomed to being emotionally available, I'm going to have to be that. That means I have to emotionally and physically be there for this person. That means I have to be responsive in conversation as well as engaged in conversation. Because when I am emotionally available, I am giving you not just the shell of me and who I am. I'm giving you all of who I am. And that means if you are tired of dating people that are not emotionally available, you're going to have to grow emotionally. That means you're going to have to tell those people no. Stop having them to hold us a place until the real person comes along. That's not fair, nor is it right. But it does mean that you're changing and you're growing. You're doing things new. You're doing things differently. You're opening up and you're growing. All right. And that's a good thing. There's never anything wrong with switching it up and then growing as a result of it. You find out so much more about yourself and your capabilities that you didn't even know were possible. All right. So when it comes to bossing up in our love lives, I want you all to begin trying to do something different, but still being yourselves, but also growing in the process. I believe you're going to have the best love life experience possible, but you got to open up the door and start walking down that path if you're not already there. If you're on the path and it's not working for you, maybe you need to have a different route. Maybe you're on the wrong street. Maybe you're in the wrong area. Not literally, but maybe emotionally, maybe socially, maybe mentally, maybe even spiritually. Wherever you are, there's always enough time to change. It's never too late. And I believe you can boss up. You just have to give yourself a chance to do it. All right. So that's it for today's episode. You know how I like to close out the show with our like it, love it, leave it tips. What do I like? I like the fact that it's a new year and we can always switch things up in a new year and start over. Even though it's the 6th day of the year, you can still start over. What do I particularly love about this topic? I love the fact that we can always have the best love experience ever. There is no set rule that you only get one soulmate. That's a lie. There's no such thing. There's no rule that says you're only entitled to one major love of your life. No. What kind of God will we serve? The person I really loved unfortunately passed away at an early age. I'm never supposed to have love again. No, that's not who he is. God is a God of love. Because he's a God of love, he's going to make a way out of no way for us to experience the love life possible that we desire. You just got to keep in faith and stay in faith about that. So I love the fact that it's never too late to have the best love life experience possible. And I'm telling you guys, I'm preaching to myself just as much as I'm preaching to you. It's truthful. We just have to always keep that in mind, okay? What I want to leave, all the stuff that kept us bound and behind in 2021, 2020, 2019, whatever year it was, we don't have to take that with us into 2022. Nobody knows that you're changing in the way that you're trying or desiring to change but you. So that means you can try and try and try again until you get it right. Leave it behind. Never quitting. If it's not working for you, then change it up. Now, if you're married, I'm not saying go out there and get a divorce. Y'all know that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is whatever you have that's in your love life that's not working, you can switch it up. and you can leave everything that's not working for you behind. All right. So that's it. That's it, guys, for today's show. That's us taking our temperature with our like it, love it, leave it tips. Don't forget, meet me on Clubhouse every Sunday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Join the sisterhood. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about love, self-love, and our journey on love, and being there for one another, encouraging one another, giving each other tips, tools, and resources, as well as love and support. I would love to have you there. And don't forget to text no dessert. And you're going to text that number to 877-7LOVE-07, where you'll get a weekly text of encouragement, love, and support from me to keep you on your self-love journey. All right. Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you have downloaded the show. I love you. And this is the beginning of the end. I love you guys, but we have an awesome year lined up. I have so much more in store for you. I couldn't hold it all in this episode. So I will see you next time on the Eros Meets Agape podcast, where I have more to share with you about season 5, our final season of the podcast. I love you, and thanks for listening. And that's it for me for today. I'm Dr. Saudia, helping you to give and receive the love you both want and need. Till next time, be blessed, everyone. Bye-bye.